So let me just turn off my video. So let's just wait for the rest of them to join this meeting before we proceed. Hi Eric, good evening. I was saying hi to everyone while they were joining. Hope you are
Good
good.
evening. Yeah, I'm fine. Good evening, everyone.
All right, have you turned in your assignments?
Yeah, I've done that.
All right. Anyone here that has not turned in their assignment on the Google Classroom? Is there anyone here that has not turned in their assignment on the Google Classroom? Hi Chigozie, good evening. Hadebanjo, good evening.
Good evening.
All
Good
right.
evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. What was it in this class? I think Chinua. Chinua just joined. Okay, hi Chinua, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Let's just wait for the rest to join in. We have 9 people on the call as we speak. Oh, yes, 9. Okay. No, it is 8, sorry. Including me and the screen, I'm sure. So someone should please give us a round robin of what they learned in Module 2, planning and scoping of a penetration test assessment. What do you understand? And what are the questions you have so far concerning planning and scoping of a penetration test? This is a general question to everybody in the class.
Hello, sir.
I think he gives
Hello,
it's
sir.
just a summary of what we need to have and things we need to put in place before we do penetration testing, the regulations involved, the documents, like the rules of engagement, everything that we need to have before we do pen tests.
Okay, I think that gives like an overview. Someone else want to say something?
Yes, in addition to that, so looking at it took us to the compliance organizations from the NIST to the HIPAA, then the GDPR and all others. But to me, I noticed most of the compliance organizations that we go to are mostly abroad-based organizations. So I wanted to ask this very funny question. Are there no regulations nation for Africans or let's say Nigeria specifically when it comes to cyber security? Was one. So at the same time, we were able to learn all the aspects of preparing the agreement, the end of agreement, the MSA, master level agreement, the non-disclosure agreement, and the service level agreement, and all of that like that. So able to understand the difference between those agreements. Although it was a little bit confusing understanding the little difference between those agreements. So it requires one to go through it carefully to understand the little differences among them. Then also the aspect of the payment and the tools, knowing that not all tools are accepted. So in an agreement, you have to agree with the organization on which tools you are allowed to use and not to use, which network to test and which network not to test, and the reporting channel is very important also. Then lastly, the disclaimer, because most startup business or most entrepreneurs and not average business will usually issue disclaimer when they are taking up a business from a client. When they get a job offer, they just jump it up with all their hands and feel like, wow, I don't see work. But they won't. They just take their time to put the disclaimer agreement there, and which over a while, after a while, you see them having issues with the organizations. So it is very important to put out the disclaimer agreement. So those are just the stuff I learned from that.
Thank you very much. I'm trying to recall your name, Adebanjo.
Yes, sir.
So I think your question was even more of like you're giving an explanation and you're asking a question around the line. So I don't know if you can do me a favor, just key in your question, just drop it on the chat while I respond to it. Please do that for me, please. Yeah. Please 1 second. I'm trying to like adjust my systems. Okay. So aside what Adebayo just said, is there any other person who has something to say? Okay, Adisa, you want to say something?
Yeah, okay, sir. I just want to ask, from what I could understand, like, is there actually any any rule or any law that prevents you from doing a penetration test to an organization, like maybe an active penetration test to an organization? Because with all these laws and everything, I think it's actually more of them mostly is for the abroad based, not in Nigeria. And I try to like do some a review or just try to do some research on whether there is any law guiding for Nigeria. But from what I could see particularly, they said that it's not an unlawful offense or something to like do a penetration for like someone to just do a penetration test to a system or to a website for Nigerians. So I don't know how true is that.
Okay.
Can I say something on this, sir?
No, not yet. Let me answer one person first. Sorry. This is how it is. It does not apply to abroad people, or what did you call them? Very important to have your documentations. Now, if you look at the approach Skill 4 is giving here, oh sorry, I just closed that mistakenly. They talk about comparing, contrasting, GRC concept, legal considerations or things you need to put in place before you get started with a penetration test assessment, or they talk about regulatory compliance, rule of engagement, things like that. All of these things are applicable globally, not just to Africa or not just to Nigeria as a whole. Do you understand? So it's it's a must. If you know you are an ethical hacker, you will not carry out a project without having your rule of engagement in place. I don't know if you get my point. You will not carry out an assessment if you don't understand what is in scope of your assessment. Yeah, so I'm going to do like we usually do every weekend. I'm going to do a run through of everything and mention some things that I can relate to personally, and I will tell you how they really work. So for me, if I want to carry out an assessment with an organization, most times I do application security assessment. I usually have a call with the client. So when I have the call with the client, we discuss what is in scope. Or even before the assessment, some customers might send you like what they want to really do, so you can provide a quote for them. So now, once you discuss what is in scope and probably you guys have a deal, before you carry out anything, they send an NDA agreement, non-disclosure agreement, and also you send a rule of engagement. You understand, or an engagement letter, as it may be. It can be different in different settings or different scenarios, but there will always be a legal binding between your client and you. Now, Skill for All carries it as you guys, you are being seen as someone who wants to run a penetration testing company, or what you need to do whenever you're carrying out an assessment. Do you understand? So when you're carrying out an assessment, you just have to put these things in place. It is not necessary that you need to understand the basic concept of everything you need to go through, but there are these documents that are very, very important that you need to provide that will serve as an agreement between you and your clients. So like the rule of engagement, scope, like having a scoping meeting with them or a scoping session with them is very, very important. Samuel, your hand is up. You
Yes, I
want to
just
ask a
wanted
question?
to add. No, I just wanted to add to what
Okay.
the others have said. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, sure, please.
Okay. So this week, in addition to what the others have said, we got to learn about ways an ethical hacker can demonstrate professionalism and integrity, which like examples are like conducting background checks for the team of the pen tester, adherence to specific scope of engagement, obeying the laws, the allow and deny lists, identification of immediate and reporting of immediate breach. Maybe when during the course of the test, you identify a breach or a criminal activity ongoing, you report it. You limit invasiveness based on the scope, and then we also got to understand um, the risk posed if you don't follow these laws, as the company can be sued, the financial consequence, and also it can even run out of business itself. Yeah, and also I think there are laws in Nigeria like this NDPR, and there's this Cyber Security Act of 2019 also.
Yeah.
But for my question, I
Okay.
don't really understand these APIs. I came across this SOAP, Swagger, WSDL, but I know you can just explain later, maybe when we are done. Thank you.
Okay. You can actually drop a chat for me so I can throw more light on that later on
Okay.
WhatsApp. Yeah.
Okay.
But thanks for the addition and thank you for your question. And it really shows that you did some like you really went through the module yourself. Okay, someone asked a question on the chat. He said, what are the regulation compliance organization or framework in Africa or Nigeria specifically? I think some of it, Samuel already mentioned them. You understand, NDPR. And I can't really collate everything here. And there's one thing I want us to also pay attention to as we are penetration testers, which is GRC is not your scope, but you need to understand GRC. You need to understand the basic concept around GRC. GRC is not your area of expertise, but you need to know how it works. That's why you are being given the concept in the skill for all. Now, starting from next week, that is when I feel like the main module related to penetration testers are getting started. That's like the information gathering, footprinting, reconnaissance, network scanning, social engineering, and so on. So all of these things are what you will really do as a penetration tester. But when it comes to GRC, rule of engagement, all of most times you won't be the one to even manage this. You won't be the one to draft a rule of engagement, but it is very good for you to know, okay, now when you are being hired by an organization, I'm telling you the practical approach to this. Someone at this, I can see you and I will call you guys. I'm not saying you should drop it, I'm just acknowledging. So now this is it. If I should have a new, let's say the company I'm working for has a new client coming on board, I don't really have anything to do with um creating like a rule of engagement for them. No, it is the company that I'm working for that will create a rule of engagement for them. But if it was to be like a sole project or like a single project for me to handle, I would know, okay, I need to go through all this process and I need to, okay, create a rule of engagement, ND has to be signed. But no, if I was to be a penetration tester to a particular company, this is what I just need to put in my mind, which is the asset and scope. What do I need to hack? What am I doing a test on? And also, you can generate a questionnaire. You can create a questionnaire. There is always a unique scenario to every client. You understand? Some clients will tell you they have 3 applications, they have like 4 APIs they want you to carry out assessment on. You will know the questions you want to ask them. Ask them the best time for them to carry out an assessment, for you to carry out an assessment. And during the process, I think like what Samuel said, he said you can come across an issue. Now, what you ask them is, who do you contact directly for an hotfix whenever you face an issue during a vulnerability or during a vulnerability assessment? Or there are some vulnerability you will discover that you can't wait for you to write a report till you get it fixed. Now, let's say, for example, there was one I discovered at a point, which is a get request from the API is just showing customer data without proper authentication or or authorization check. So that kind of thing, I did not even wait for the assessment to be done before I called the developers to fix it. You understand? So that's that every scenario is going to have like a very unique approach to it. So it is you that want to know how to handle it as a penetration tester. Now take note, it is in two scenarios. It's either you're handling your project yourself as a penetration tester, where you have to put all of these things, all these GRC concepts, you need to put them in scope. Or even sometimes you might have your own lawyer that would have an insight to something like this. But if you are doing it with a company, what I think you focus on is scope of the scope of the assessment or the scope of engagement. 1 second, I think someone wants to try. So that's what you are focusing on at that time. So now let's just take through our class today. Then I'll be introducing you to some trial rooms. I think some people were having issues with the open VPN thing, and a whole lot was just happening. Although apologies, I was very, very busy over the week, and I could not like really respond to everyone. But I saw, and I love the fact that you guys were trying to help. Eric, well done. I don't know, some other person. I was just seeing Eric chat on the chat. To every other person who was trying to assist in helping their colleagues, thank you very much. It's very much appreciated. So let's just proceed with what we have for today. I'm going to do a run through like I usually do. Tell you where it is relatable. And that's the main purpose of this community, or the purpose of this training, is to give you the real life taste of what you are doing. So let's just get started. Adisa, your hands is up. What do you want to say?
Okay, sir. See, what I just want to ask is kind of a bit funny, but I just don't know. Like, I've worked like in two places also, but it's rare to ever heard that maybe they want to like engage someone that is actually into a network security or penetration tester to come and actually test the network or anything like that. Like, is it like kind of real that Nigerian organization has actually engaged people like that, like there are
Hmm.
people within that scope of work?
Yes, they do. They do very well. They do employ people to come and test their network. Not even network. Some people would do like a total round audit. Black box, they'll tell you they are not giving you anything. I think last week we were talking about different types of tests. The white test, the white box test, the gray box test, and the black box test. Now there are some companies that they will call your company or the company you're working with that they want to carry out a black box test, which is they will not give you any information. All the informations you can get them online. And to be very realistic, I did something like this last December, which is a particular company called, they said they wanted like an assessment. We're not given anything to test. We're just given, okay, their website was there. From the website, I was able to find some API. From the API, I was able to find some of their postman collection that was visibly available on the internet. From there, I went to their mobile application. I did some reverse engineering. I found some API keys. I reported everything on the application, on the reports. So what I'm just trying to say in essence is, sorry to say, maybe you've not come across organizations that really take security like very, very, like it's not important to them. But if you come across some, the likes of PwC, KPMG, InterSwitch cannot tell me they don't carry out an assessment. As a matter of fact, some fintechs in Nigeria they can't operate properly without an assessment, in the sense that there are some CBN policies in place where you are required to carry out a security assessment on your application, or else your license to even function as the fintech would be seized. Even I think recently, start paying fine for some things related to security, where was it GDPR? I can't really recall. But to be honest, it is very, very vital to them. They don't joke with it. You understand? Companies that are very serious don't joke with it. Even as it is weekend now, if I should find anything and I message a particular organization I'm working with, they would set up a meeting now. I mean, now. We'll try as much as we can to fix it. I don't know if you understand my point. So it is real. It happens in Nigeria. It's not, don't think Nigerian companies don't take it serious. They do. Because they are the one that attacks the most. They get attacked most of the times. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what else to say, but they do get it. Yeah. So Babatunde, I decided to answer your question.
Yes, sir, you did. Thanks so much.
All right. Babatunde,
Well,
you have a question.
no, I do actually have a question. I wanted to just add to what you were saying with respect to Nigerians, like companies in Nigeria having regulations. So, like you said, I just well, you said it already, honestly. So I'm quite familiar with financial institutions, for instance, that as a financial institution in Nigeria, you have to have some things in place before every now and then in compliance with CBN policy and stuff like that. And if you don't have that, you get your license taken off. I mean, it's cybersecurity as a whole field is a new field for a lot of companies, not just in Nigeria, all over the world. So because of that, everybody is just trying to like make sure they adapt to the whole situation. But in the real sense of it, most companies in Nigeria, you'll be shocked, the top companies, they actually have policies in place and they have to maintain everything that they need to do at any point in time. And also, I think in terms of security, that your question, I think you should not limit yourself to companies in Nigeria alone. There are situations where you're in Nigeria and companies all in another country can call you and ask you to do like a penetration test, literally, for their organization as a maybe as a contractor at any point in time. So you don't want to limit yourself just to Nigeria. And then you just want to like broaden your knowledge and make sure that it doesn't matter maybe in Nigeria, you can eventually do anything, any point in time for any other thing.
Thank you very much, Babatunde, for addressing that point. Like it's you've spoken facts into that. Yeah, thank you very much. I decide, do you have any other question? We need to move very fast just to address everything we have to talk. Okay, thank you. Adio, you can also Mr. Babatunde, you can also drop your hand as well. All right. So let's just move forward into what we have for today. Now, playing back the scenario to the first part, which is comparing and contrasting governance, risk, and compliance concept. Back to the scenario, working at Protego Security Solutions. So now part of our security assessment service is evaluating Pixel Paradise. Take notes. Pixel Paradise is a client, and we're trying to see um, the adherence to relevant compliance and framework. And we're trying to see what would be the consequence if they can't meet up to certain compliance. So now, from a security point of view, we need to understand something. There is a different compliance assessment you can do, or there is a different approach, like I said earlier, or a unique approach for each organization. Now, because of Pixel Paradise collects users' information as part of the business in the European Union sector or the United States, if you undo something around credit card transactions, you will be tested against PCI DSS framework and the GDPR. So now, it's not all organizations that will do PCI DSS, it's not all organizations that will do GDPR, you understand? But because our customer here in this scenario is a payment card processing company, so they have to go through the PCI DSS framework to check if they are truly compliant and to the GDPR. And also, while we're talking about legal issue, we also need to learn about the features of our customers' agreement, such as their SLA, confidentiality requirement, contracts, as well as master service agreement or state of work. Then we also need to understand this agreement and how they affect our practice. So moving on, let's talk about regulation compliance considerations. Now we need to familiarize ourselves with several regulatory compliance considerations in order for us to carry out a successful, to be very successful as an ethical hacker or a penetration tester. Now, not to only complete compliance-based assessment, but you need to also understand how the regulations may affect you and your customer. Now, let me just do a round robin of everything here. The reason why I'm doing the round robin is because I said, in some cases in an organization, you are not the one who will be providing some documentations. I don't know if you understand. the thing what we're trying to do is we're just trying to understand the basic concepts. So in a scenario where you are meeting with a client, even sometimes as a penetration tester, I don't know if I have anyone working in the field already, you will not be the one to meet with the client. It is when the deal is done, that is when they'll bring it to you like, okay, we have social assessment. And I think someone like your supervisor is just going to brief you into the project. So let's proceed. Now let's talk about the likes of PCI DSS, HIPPA, and the FedRAMP. So what does PCI DSS, what does it mean? Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. Now, this is a framework that is targeted towards payment card processing organizations. They want to see if you are truly compliant because you process digital payment and all that. And let's talk about HIPPA. HIPPA is Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1966. So it's simplified and standardized healthcare administrative process. And this administrative process simplification called for transition from paper records, transaction to electronic records and transactions. Also, we have FedRAMP as well. Now, the US federal government uses FedRAMP to standard to authorize the use of cloud services offering. So if you want to know more about all of these things, it's something you can actually like go into each link that is there. Let's talk about local restrictions. Sorry, someone's trying to join. Let me see. Genius, are you in this meeting?
Yes, yes, sir.
All right, please, let me take attendance.
All right, all right.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So moving forward, we're talking about local restrictions. Now, when we're talking about local restrictions, how is it applicable to a penetration tester? How is it applicable to a penetration tester? This is a question to everyone. When we're talking about local restriction, how is it applicable? All right, Moyo, sorry. Moyo, you want to say something? Please proceed.
Yes, good evening. Good evening, everybody. So, based on how I understood it while I was studying it, from the word local, it's talking about the restriction that might be in the particular country that the penetration pen tester wants to work on. That is, maybe a pen tester is going from his country to another country, or even if he's in that same country, the restrictions on the kind of test that he or she can do, or the kind of tools that he or she is allowed to use. So all of these things are kind of are local restrictions. I think that's how I understood it.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's the main point. But if I'm to add to your point, there's one thing I will also mention. Yeah, local restriction can have to do with like you leaving the country or going to another country to carry out an assessment. But it is also applicable to whenever, even like anywhere you find yourself, a customer can tell you you are not allowed to use certain tools on their applications because they might be rigorous and they might lead to denial of service, which the customer does not even want to take any chance. So even in some scenarios where you see like customers, clients, the way they build the application such that it cannot like taking much requests. It's not your concern to say, okay, why is the application not able to take in requests? You just have to go by the guidelines they're giving you. We don't make use of this kind of application whenever we're carrying out an assessment. Accept it. They will tell you you shouldn't launch a particular type of attack. Let's say SQL injection. They don't want to take the risk of you launching an SQL injection against their production database. They are not even ready to take the risk. So they tell you not to test for that. Regardless of how it is very important for you to do it, like you want to stretch or you want to spread your wings, you don't do it. That's why I call it limitation to skill sets. You understand? Now, even when you know something can break in the application, the best thing you can do, let's say for example, you found an eternal blue exploit. Probably they were using a Windows 2007 system PC as their server, and you found it, you don't have to exploit it. You understand? So they don't want to take that risk at all. So this is part of what you will know during the scoping session. even right before you get to your local restriction stage, right? So when you get a very a known exploit, you can't execute, and reason is because it's going to affect the business. And don't forget, it is that same business that is going to pay you. So if the business is being affected, they don't even want to take that risk at all. So they tell you like, this is what you should do, this is what you can do. It might look like they don't even value, or they are paying you more than that. That's not really your business. What you want to do is, okay, what level can I get to when I'm carrying out my assessment? How long can I test? What time should I carry out my test? What tools are not acceptable in your products? So that is just what you want to know, and that's the whole idea around um local restrictions. One other thing I forgot to mention is some people will tell you not to carry out assessments on a particular product. Now, let me give a scenario. So I would use a bug bounty program as an example. Okay, let me just use integrity. I'm looking for a program. Okay, let me just use this one. Let me go to a general program. Sorry, because I don't want to. I told you I was recording this session. Let me go to a general program where they list what you can do on the program and what you can't do. Okay, this one is for Yahoo. So let's go to the scope session. So you can see the things they have in scope. You can see the things they have in scope. They have Yahoo Video, Fire TV, tvOS. Let's go to the ones that are not in scope. Scrolling to the bottom. Now you can see something like this. You can see something like this. Now this is where all the in scope stops. Look at something like this. They tell you any subdomain you get to discover that has to do with .yahoo.net, it is out of scope. This is something around limitation, local restrictions. So let's even assume I'm doing anything and I got to like find out, let's say I just want to find out the subdomains that are related to that. One second, this is taking longer. So basically what I'm just trying to say in a sense is this is also part of local restrictions, subdomains that are not allowed, a specific target that you're not allowed to touch or even test at all. If you find any vulnerability on all these out of scope out of scope assets, it is not valid basically to the organization. So that's the whole idea behind local restrictions. So let's take a practice that has to do with regulation. I don't know. So when planning and scoping a penetration test, there are often many regulation compliance considerations, although some of these regulations do not apply to Pixel Paradise. Yes, they do not apply to Pixel Paradise. Can somebody tell me why they mentioned the word that it is not applied to Pixel Paradise? I mentioned something earlier about Pixel Paradise. Why are they not applicable? Moyo, are you raising your hand, or that was the previous one? Okay, Samuel, you want to say something?
Yes. So I think about PCI DSS, it depends on if they deal with credit card information.
Okay, I'm asking that which ones are applicable to Pixel Paradise according to the first scenario we read earlier.
So I think GLBA is,
You mean GDPR?
yeah, GDPR is.
Okay, which other one?
I think NIST also should be.
So NIST is not part of it. It is GDPR and PCI DSS.
PCI,
Okay, and
yeah,
PCI
PCI
DSS.
DSS.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chigozie. It is PCI DSS and GDPR.
GDPR.
Now they are using PCI DSS because it's a fintech, right? They are into payment card processing, right? So now, if you are talking about the Graham Leach Billy Act, where is it applicable?
It's applicable to financial institutions.
Yeah, accepted. But according to the what we have on the page, where are we clicking into?
So applies to all financial services organizations regardless of size.
Okay. Now for HIPPA, someone else will take it.
It has to do with health now. Safeguards electronic health information.
It has to do with health, not it has to do with health now. I don't know who that is. Yeah. Payment card in industry data security standard. PCI DSS, what's it related to?
Okay, the processing of credit card and other types of digital payments.
All right, thank you. GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation. What is it?
Strengthens and unifies data privacy protections for individuals within the European Union.
Thank you. NIST SP 800-57. Guideline for encryption key management. Done. Now let's go to legal concepts. What do we understand by SLA? Service level agreement. What do you understand by SLA? Is anyone saying anything? What do you understand by SLA? Moya, sorry, say you want to say something?
Okay, how I understand it, I think it's a document that is related to the quality, the timeline, the time frame, and cost of the pen tensors. So I think that's what it is, like a document that has to contain all of those things, all of those information. That's what I understand.
Okay. Yeah, you are correct. But let me give you a scenario again that is really applicable, like in real life. I'm not saying what is there is not correct. It is correct, but most times there's this thing they call I don't know if most of us are familiar with Jira, where you report your tickets, and I don't know if anyone is doing IT support here where people report tickets and they'll be like, oh, it already passed like SLA or it has breached SLA, all this kind of thing. So that's really applicable to timeline and time frame for you to carry out an assessment. And other things related to SLA is just as Moyo said, she said the quality and the cost of a penetration testing service. So when we're talking about confidentiality, how is it applicable to the legal concept when you're putting the concept of GRC in place or during the process of carrying out a penetration test? How is confidentiality applicable? Here's a question to everyone.
So I think it means keeping the information safe, whatever the information you might have, one way or the other, maybe during the course of penetration testing and other things, must be safe and must not be divulged out unless to what do I call it, to the how do I put it, to the required personnel that the information is supposed to be meant for.
Yes, you don't make example of your work when you're talking. I think you should notice that, like ever since I've been having conversations with you guys, you see, I talk about the way I work, but I don't tell you who I'm working for or who I'm working with or the application I was carrying out before I got that experience. Moyo, you want to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to add something to what you said. That okay, after everything has been done, also confidentiality also means that after every pen test, you have to delete all the data and record, because then you already had access to their network. So now you need to not like have all of those records with you, because then I feel like that's going to be like a risk on their part if you take all of those records with you. So you have to delete everything after every pen test.
Okay, you are correct, 100%. But there's something we call note taking during the pen test process, which is you document every procedure of what you are doing. Like, okay, when your findings, yes, let me put it that way, your findings. Now, before you delete, nobody. This is not a standard. Let me put it that way. Renato said something. You have to agree with the client. What? Okay, I'll look at that, Renato. Hold on. Before you delete, to be on a safer side, please just tell the customer, or you can tell your supervisor that you'll be deleting those informations off your system. Should in case they come back to you, just know you have to carry out another assessment again before you can get any findings. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So sometimes if you're working within an organization and they tell you, okay, you want to implement that kind of thing, which is very good. It is good. It is safe because you yourself might be hacked and an external person might have access to those information. Sure. What you can do is all the findings you've done that are related to that particular target, upload them to your cloud, like your own office. There's OneDrive, like where I don't know. I've seen scenarios where we make it of OneDrive. You understand? So you can upload it to your own personal folder at the office on cloud and delete it off your own physical system. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So that's safe enough. So you don't have to go through the process. Maybe whenever the customer comes back and like maybe there's another agreement for you to like keep carrying on or keep doing VAPT for them. So you don't have to go back and do a fresh scan or something. You can just go through your report, continue from where you stopped, and that'll be easier. She goes, yeah, you want to say something?
I was saying, I just wanted to add that you have to protect the sensitive data you discovered so far during the process of the hacking. You have to protect the data. That's what I want to say.
Okay, and when it comes to protecting data, you okay. Try to understand. There's something they call security level clearance. I don't know. It's not applicable. I've not seen where it is applicable in Nigeria so far. I'm not saying it's not applicable. I stand to be corrected. But I think abroad there's something they call like security clearance, which is to each level of security clearance, their level of information you can see. Now, let's say you are giving information to an executive person. There are some things you might want to like cover, or you might want to use like a blurry text for it within your report and all that, so you don't share sensitive information. But let's assume you are sharing it to a technical person so that they can understand how to remediate. You might just leave it the way they are. And I don't know if anybody understand what I'm saying. Okay. Eric said delete records. Yeah, that's very much correct. So let's move on to the next one. Statement of work. What does it have to do? Yeah, thank you, Renato. Statement of work. What does statement of work means? I intentionally did not click on it, so I can get a raw state. Wow, Moyo is yet to. All right, Moyo.
So it's the document that entails all of the activities that has to be performed during the pen test, like the scope of work to be performed, the location of the work, the special technical and non-technical requirements. In fact, even the payment schedule, like how it has to be, the payment, how the money will be paid, and everything, and also other miscellaneous items that may not be part of the main negotiation, but that needs to still be documented or that needs to be listed or tracked because they might also pose as a problem. So that is what the statement of work is like. The document that will actually show, like when I was understood it, I feel like it's like the quotation, like all these bricklayers when they want to build houses. Now they have to bring quotations for their clients. Okay, that this is what we are going to go and do. So I feel like that is what a statement of work is in pen testing, in assessment.
Okay, thank you very much. Olamide, you raised your hand as well. You want to say something?
Well, I was going to say it indicates the activities to be performed during a penetration test. I think she already said it. So
Okay, what's the difference between a statement of work and a non-disclosure agreement?
well, an NDA is like a legal document. It just creates a level of confidential relationship between, an organization that is hiring you and you the penetration tester, the pen tester.
Okay, thank you. But I say, what's the difference between SOW and NDA?
I think NDA is a legal document. It's necessarily not a legal document. So that's the difference, in my opinion.
Any other person? Kingsley?
Hello, sorry, this is Babatunde. I think they are both legal documents, but the difference is one is S scope of work is basically telling you the project specification details within the scope of the work. Basically, what you're supposed to do for the job you're contracted to. While the NDA is basically to protect against sensitive information so that you don't disclose this information to third party or maybe to another person.
Okay. Thank you very much. Kingsley, do you want to say something? I don't know, maybe you're speaking and I can't hear you, but let me just list them out. So I'll just break it down into so for an NDA protects confidential information that are being shared during the process of carrying out the penetration test. But in a statement of work, it is to define the scope and objective or the terms of the penetration testing project. And also in a statement of work, you are outlining the system, the network, the testing methodologies that was used, the timeline, your deliverables, as well as the terms of the penetration testing project. But in an NDA, you are specifying the information, you are specifying what information is being confidential, and also obligation to protecting those information. And you are also stating the consequence of breaching agreement within you and your client, right? So for a statement of work, it's between your client and the penetration testing team, while for the statement of for the NDA, it is also between like the two of the client and also the pen tester itself. For NDA, you protect sensitive information. For statement of work, you are defining a penetration testing scope and objective. So when we're talking about we've talked about that. Now, what is an MSA? A master service agreement. What's an MSA? What's an MSA?
I think it's a document that can be used to negotiate, quickly negotiate the work that is to be carried out. Yeah. A document that can be used to quickly negotiate the work that is to be carried out. That's what I understand about it.
Okay. Adisa, you want to say something?
I think MSA is just more or less for a longer period of duration. Instead of like renegotiating your all these contracts and everything. If you have a master service agreement, then that can always be in place whenever the organization maybe they want to like acquire your service.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So a master service agreement serves as a contractual agreement between a service provider and a client. So it is between you, the pen tester, and the client who is getting the service. So you outline the terms and conditions of you carrying out like multiple projects or multiple things you'll be doing during the process of your assessment within a specific time frame. Understand? That's what an MSA is all about. So now we've talked about all the legal concepts we need to have So this is what I was saying earlier, is as a penetration tester, you just need to have an insight to what all of these things are. And if we were to talk about a contract, so a contract is more like an agreement between you and a penetration tester, how you are going to get paid. It's also going to provide a clear documentation of how the services are being performed and what your customer is basically paying for. And also, so when we're talking about a contract, they should be very specific, easy to understand, with ambiguities. So any ambiguity within your contract, which is being written by you, could lead to like a dissatisfaction or a friction in the deal you're having with your customer. So when it comes to contracts, it is advisable you have a legal person or a solicitor who stands for you or help you draft out your contract. And take note of this. This is in a scenario where you are the one who is talking to the client directly, which is not going to happen all of the time, right? Because the reason why I'm saying that is if you are being hired as a penetration tester, you don't have any deal writing a contract for anybody. All what will happen is the salesperson, I think most of the salesperson already handle that. Although it is the security department that will provide like what the contract should look like, but it's not the security department that will interface directly with the customer. It is going to be the sales team that will be that will be meeting with the customer. So that's the whole idea behind it. Now, talking about a disclaimer, what was a disclaimer when you're carrying out an assessment, and why is the disclaimer very important?
Well, yeah, I think in short, disclaimer is just like in the process of anything happen after the service, my hand is off. Like I'm not responsible for any fault or any issue that should happen that is not related to this part of the scope of work.
Okay. Wisdom. Wisdom, you want to say something?
Okay, yeah, like a disclaimer is something that is kind of an important note. Like after conducting a penetration test, probably there's just an important stuff to kind of put underneath or kind of to inform the importance to take notice of. Actually.
Okay. Okay. Before I take other hands, please don't drop your hand. I'll respond to you. There's one thing I want to mention, which is the fact that a company has a security team does not mean they cannot be hacked. And the fact that a customer is reaching out to you to carry out an assessment does not mean during that process that you're carrying out assessment, they cannot like witness a vulnerability issue or something happening. So it will be stated in your disclaimer that you're not responsible for that. Or it will even be stated that like within so period, like for example, maybe there's an issue with a particular bug or a vulnerability that I discover. I usually tell my clients is I discovered this vulnerability on so dates. I don't know if you understand my points. On this day, so even if you see you don't like you see something else the next day, it's none of my business. I don't know if anybody understand what I'm saying. So you are being precise and you are giving an accurate content to what you are doing. Samuel, can you please proceed?
So I wanted to like add to what you said, like disclaimer also iterates that conducting this test does not mean there is no probability that you won't be hacked. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to add.
Just not coming from you. You will explain it. I don't even know how you want to explain it, but it's I don't know. All right. Olamide, proceed, please.
Okay, like as we all know, vulnerabilities spring up every day, and after a penetration test, you have to do like a report of what you've tested and what vulnerabilities you've tested against. So your report is going to state that I've tested for these vulnerabilities. If anything happens tomorrow, and it's a vulnerability that looks like the one I've checked for, It is not my problem. It is not my business. Thank you.
Okay, so you see when it comes to disclaimer, it's kind of funny in the sense that there are some key components you want to make use of, or um you want to put in place. Now, someone is trying to join this meeting. I don't know. Did anybody share this meeting link with anyone? You can just indicate. I don't know who this person is. This is Julius, and I don't know who this person is. Okay. Eric said they are statements used to limit legal liability of a person regarding information or actions taken. Yes, thank you very much for that point. Now, one of the key concepts you need to take note of whenever you are drafting your disclaimer is content accuracy, which is you clarify that information provided may not always be accurate. They may not be complete and they may not be up to date. That's not to say you are not giving the right information, like based on the report you are giving. It's just that after that time you provided a report, they might still proceed like to find something else, even still in the system. You understand? So it's just like you're clarifying that, okay, I carried out this assessment from this date to this date, and this is what I found. Now, the fact that I found these things within this period does not mean that if you give the same project to another penetration tester, you won't find something else like after the date I've carried out the assessment. So the fact that that person found something else does not mean I did not carry out my work properly. I don't know. So when it comes to pen testing, I can't say nobody can tell you your work is right or wrong. That is why it is a professional service, right? But you just have to like have a level of competence before you can carry out a real assessment. And that is why in Nigeria, generally, most of these rules are recommendation based. Like people have to recommend you for your skill set or anything, because nobody can really tell if you've done the right thing or you've done the wrong thing, like on the spot. It could be after maybe you are done, they've paid you, you are even out of sight, and that's when they'll start, okay, checking out this thing was even right, it was like a false positive or a false negative. I don't know if you get my point. Babatunde, you want to say something?
So I just wanted to go, ask a question. Can we say zero-day exploits? Sorry, let me rephrase. For disclaimer, if you have a disclaimer, if there's a zero-day exploit afterwards, can it cover you against that? I don't know if my question is.
I understand your point. So now, are you saying you did not discover a zero-day exploit during the process of the assessment, but after that it was discovered?
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, you know what? Let me ask you a question. What's your understanding of a zero-day exploit?
I mean, zero-day exploit is basically like an attack vector that you can take advantage of, maybe based on maybe security flaw or
It has not been
security
fixed.
flaw in the computer software or hardware.
But it was not fixed. You know, I think zero days are not fixed. Like it's something when you discover you can make use of, and
Yeah.
they don't have a remediation at the point.
Yeah, absolutely. The reason why I asked the question, it can be software. You know, in pen testing, you're most of the time we're always doing the software part of it, the networking part of it. But sometimes it can be from the hardware perspective or the firmware. And so in that case, if you really see something like a flaw in the security part of it, in the software part, like when you're carrying out your assessment and stuff, and you make them understand that this is a flaw there, I mean, that's a 0 day basically in the real sense of it. But you might necessarily not see the hardware part of it. I'm just thinking.
No, let me say something.
Okay.
A 0 day is a software vulnerability or a security flaw that is unaware, like it's unknown. Sorry, it's unknown to the vendor or the developer. They don't know about it, but it is being used. Now, a very good. Let me say this, and I stand to be corrected. Which is, what I'm saying that is because there are some 0 days out there that people don't know. That only law enforcement agencies know about, and they use it to get in people's system whenever they need information. And even the security, the vendors who created the software, don't have any like information about it. So you saying 0 day related to a software you carried out a pen test on is kind of like, for you to discover a 0 day, you should have been a security researcher for a very long time. And now explain to me how you found a 0 day on my application within a month of you doing a research on the application. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
No, yeah, I get your point.
Yeah, so 0 day is not just something you. Okay, Kingsley, you want to say something?
Yes, I wanted to contribute to what you just said. I think 0 days are exploits that have not been discovered by the software companies or thereabouts. So I think the penetration tester will not be held responsible because of using the standard. The penetration testers, they follow things like they follow CVEs, that's the no vulnerabilities. Those are the things they look out for. So I don't think you'll be held responsible.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Are we clear about today?
Yes, please.
Good. So someone is trying to join this call. I don't know who this person is. Is anybody here who's wearing Julius? Do you know anybody wearing Julius?
Sir, if you check the group, someone actually dropped a message like minutes ago that he was locked out and he's trying to join. So I don't know whether the person is Julius or not.
All right.
Check the message.
Okay, but regardless, we'll be taking a 10-minute breakout session now. So we'll continue from there when I get back. So see you all in 6:16.
Okay, thank you.